Hey guys, it's John back again. I wanted to talk today about the Bible, specifically the New Testament, the Old Testament, which is the Torah, from the Torah. And I want to talk about the struggle that one has to follow the Bible because of the contradictions all throughout the Bible, and in turn, the Torah. My favorite quote of all time in the Bible is "God is love," and you've probably heard me say it a million times, and you've probably heard me expand on how to be love and all those things a lot, because I believe 100% that God is this loving energy that we live within. Now, when you look at the books of Paul, where he actually literally says you can stone someone for not taking the faith, how loving is that? You've got to look at what these books are actually saying. The Old Testament, which is from the Torah, I'm going to read you a bunch from this one because this is really interesting. From the book of Kings, God sent 2 bears to kill 42 children for making fun of Eliseus for being bald. In Genesis, God turns Lot's wife to salt just for looking back. Leviticus, God does not want people coming into his churches that have blemishes, blind people, lame, flat noses, dwarves, people with scurvy, people with bad eyes, people with bad skin, and those that hath their stones broken. Okay? Exodus, God tries to kill Moses in his lodging place. Genesis, God orders Abraham and Jephthah to kill their children. Numbers, God inflicts 10 plagues and the firstborn children to death of Egypt. Genesis, God kills Onan for not impregnating his dead brother's wife. Judges, God sent Samson to murder 30 people for their clothes after losing a bet. Numbers, God killing people just for complaining. That's a very small, little tiny piece of things that are in the Old Testament and the Torah. But if God is love, how real can that be? And that's one of the reasons why people struggle in their organized religions, is because there's too many contradictions. There's too many things that can't exist with each other side by side. It's interesting. In the Torah, it says that you may beat your slave as long as he doesn't die, because he is property. And God is love. Do I think that there is flaws in all of these ancient books? I absolutely do. Do I think that they meant to have flaws in those ancient books? No. I think the main reason we're having the struggles we are having is the people who follow these books religiously have decided that they are perfect and that they are holy scriptures, and they are, above all scrutiny. And in doing so, when you call them on these things, they can't answer. They get angry. They start screaming, yelling, hollering, call you names, or just, leave, run away, because they're so invested in their faith that they're turning a blind eye to where the faith falls. These books were written to put things down in history. These things were written to put things down to be remembered. And when you look at them now, it's stories, and this Leviticus one, God turns people away with bad eyes and bad skin and dwarves and flat noses. Love thy neighbor as thou dost love thyself. Love each other. Love one another. I leave you this one commandment. Love one another. I find it very fascinating that the people who don't like the things that I say and the things that I talk about and the memories that I have are the ones who are so invested in being religious. They're the ones so invested in being right. And I understand that, because if they're not right, they're afraid of not being right. They're afraid that they might not be right. They just know they're right because they're in their little velvet cage, and they're staying very comfortably in their little velvet cage, but they don't realize that God wants them to open the door and fly and be part of the creation of life and fly. But it's hard to do that when you have anchored yourself to ancient texts that no longer serve. Ancient texts that you can find bits of truth in. And one of the questions that I was asked the other day, and on one of the questions, and I don't even know if I moved it over to my list yet, but I can remember what it was. Somebody said, when you're reading the ancient text, how can you tell which ones? How can you tell which is right and what's wrong? Because it's been translated and interpreted and edited for all these centuries. So how can we know? Let those who have eyes to see, see. Let those who have ears to hear, hear. When you read it from the perspective of, if this is God, is this loving? Does this feel right? If it doesn't feel right to you, then it's not for you, and it's not to be followed. Buddha said, believe no one, even me, unless it rings true to your own heart. Unless it rings true to you. You have to believe it. Yeah? When you read something, and it's like, oh my gosh, when you read that God sent 2 bears to kill 42 children for making fun of a guy for being bald, just like this. God sent 2 bears to kill kids because they made fun of a bald guy. That's not a God of love. That's a God of judgment. And why I had a Christian come at me the other day saying that God, God was a jealous God and that all other religions were false, and the Christian God will have no other gods before him. And I'm like, well, my God's not a jealous God. My God is love. Jealousy is out of fear. It's fear of not having. Right? You're jealous of something because you don't have it. That's what jealousy is. So, if my God is not fear, my God is love. So when I look at these texts and I look at all these things that people are trying to follow, what I'm finding is that they're picking and choosing what they want to hold on to, much like I am or you are. But the question is, are they holding on to the things that are truly loving? Are they holding on to the things that are fearful, harmful, hateful? Because there's a lot of that going on right now, holding on to things that are hateful and harmful, fearful. There's a lot of holding on to being judged and going to hell. There's a lot of those things out there that are not of God. They're of ancient peoples writing down stories to teach their ancient morality. And the New Testament has been edited and moved and destroyed, and then Paul came in and laid down all these rules and laws, and it's the simplicity of it that's so beautiful. Be love your neighbor, turn the other cheek, all those loving and caring things are the way I live my life, and the way I want to live my life, and the way I want my son to live his life. I want him to care. I want him to love. I want him to express himself fully to the world. Smile. Luckily, he's a smiler and a laugher. He's a hearty laugher. But the contradictions are what you personally, all of us personally, have to come to grips with. What do we believe? Do we believe this fear, this anxiety, that our God would kill 42 children for mocking a bald man? Would your God do that? I know my God doesn't do that. My God doesn't even conceive of that, because my God is so loving, he gives me whatever I ask for. He gives me whatever I pray for, whatever I focus on. That's what God does for me, right? But he doesn't come down and say, okay, you mocked him for being bald, I'm killing 42 children by bringing in 2 bears. Basically, what probably happened is 2 bears came into a campsite and killed 42 children. And then somebody said, oh, that must have been God. And then the story was written that these children were killed by God because they mocked him for being bald. That's probably what happened. But if you believe the Old Testament, the Torah, the Bible are infallible, then you've got contradictions you have to deal with. Because those contradictions are the things that are holding you back from experiencing love, from experiencing God fully. You've got to step into that loving place. People often think I condemn religion. I don't condemn religion. What I condemn, if I condemn anything at all, which I don't really even condemn it, I just open it up for truth. Look at it. If it is ringing true to you, and you believe it is loving, so follow that. It's so interesting. Is in the ones who claim to be most Christian are usually the nastiest. They're the ones who tell me I'm going to burn in hell and all kinds of things of that nature. But I'm thick-skinned. I'm not in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to tell my truth. I'm going to tell my truth. I was a corporate speaker. I stood in front of tens of thousands of people over a decade speaking. Before that, I did over 4,000 live comedy shows on the front lines of Iraq and Afghanistan, and 16 countries around the world, and all over the United States. And I there's not much that really scares me or that I lose my confidence in. And I was recently accused of having no confidence, which I thought was rather humorous myself. But the thing really comes down to be confident in what you believe. Be confident in what you feel to be true. And if it doesn't feel true to you, don't follow it. And if it is hateful and loving and talking about killing children, I would probably assess that belief, if that's what you believe. So that's my thought on that today. And I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See you. Bye.